Alex sat alone in his small apartment, staring out the window at the city lights below. The world outside seemed to move with a speed that left him feeling left behind. He had always been a quiet person, not much for crowds or big social events. His life had become a routine. Wake up, work, go to bed. There wasn't much excitement, and over time he found himself becoming more and more lonely. Despite being surrounded by people, he felt like an outsider in his own world. One day, while scrolling through a social media feed, he came across a strange advertisement. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The headline read, "Human Aliens. Companionship Program. A new way to build connections." At first, Alex thought it was just another silly gimmick, a scam even. But as he scrolled down, his curiosity took over. The program promised to bring humans and aliens together in companionships that were not just about service, but about real connection. Alex had always been intrigued by space and alien life, but he never thought it would be possible to actually interact with beings from other planets. He thought about it for a few days, unsure of what to make of it. But as his loneliness grew, the idea of having something different to talk to seemed appealing. The thought of having a companion who wasn't human, someone who might understand the world differently, was a strange but exciting thought. After a few days of contemplation, Alex finally decided to take the plunge. He clicked on the link to the program's website, filled out the necessary information, and made a decision. He chose a companion from a list of available aliens. Each one had a detailed profile, complete with their history, personality traits, and even their species' origins. Some were from peaceful, lush worlds, while others came from harsh, desert-like planets. After browsing through several profiles, Alex settled on an alien named Lyra. She came from a planet known for its serene, green landscapes, where people were said to live in harmony with nature. Her species was known for being peaceful, intelligent, and highly attuned to emotions. She wasn't the most exotic or the most unusual of the options, but there was something about her calm, gentle smile and her profile picture that drew him in. Within a week, the arrangement was finalized. Alex paid the required fee, and the ship, carrying Lyra, was scheduled to arrive. He wasn't sure what to expect. Was she going to be just like a human companion? Or was she going to be completely different, like the aliens he had seen in movies? Either way, he was curious. On the day Lyra arrived, Alex stood in his apartment, nervously checking the clock. The program had assured him she would be arriving at exactly 3 p.m., and he wasn't about to be late for this moment. His heart raced with excitement and anxiety. What if she didn't like him? What if the whole thing turned out to be a huge mistake? At exactly 3 p.m., there was a soft knock at his door. Alex hesitated for a second before gathering the courage to open it. He swung the door open, and there she was. Lyra was even more beautiful than her profile pictures. She stood at about 5'8", with smooth skin that shimmered with a soft, bluish glow. Her long hair cascaded down her back in waves of deep purple, and her eyes were the most striking feature. They were large and almond-shaped, soft green that seemed to shine with curiosity and intelligence. She smiled at him, her expression serene and kind. She didn't say anything at first, just studied him with her calm, yet curious gaze. "Hi," Alex said, suddenly feeling awkward. "I'm Alex." "Hello, Alex," she replied softly, her voice smooth and melodic, with an almost musical quality to it. "It's a pleasure to meet you." Her words were simple, but there was something in the way she spoke that made Alex feel at ease. He had expected her to be cold or perhaps distant, but she wasn't. She felt real. Lyra stepped inside and looked around the apartment.
"It's a lovely space,"
she commented, her voice gentle but full of appreciation. Wasn't used to receiving compliments, especially not from someone who came from a different planet. He smiled awkwardly and nodded. I wasn't sure what to expect," Alex admitted. "I guess I thought you'd be, I don't know, different." Lyra tilted her head slightly, her expression thoughtful. "Different? What does different mean to you?" Alex paused, realizing that he had just said something that didn't make much sense. "I guess. I thought you'd be, I don't know, less human." Lyra smiled again, a soft, knowing smile, I am human in my own way, just as you are. In yours, there is much to learn from each other." Her words made something inside Alex shift. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel so alone. She wasn't just an alien, she was a person, a being with her own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. They spent the next few hours talking, sharing stories about their respective worlds. Lyra told Alex about the peaceful life on her planet, where everyone worked together to maintain harmony. She spoke of her people's deep connection to nature, their respect for all life, and their desire to understand the universe around them. Alex, Canturn, shared his life on Earth, his experiences, his dreams, and his fears. He found himself opening up in ways he hadn't expected. For the first time in ages, he didn't feel judged or misunderstood. There was something incredibly comforting about Lyra's presence, something that made him feel like he wasn't alone. As the evening wore on, Alex found himself thinking that perhaps this decision wasn't a mistake after all. Lyra wasn't just a companion, she was a chance to learn, to grow, and to truly connect with another being. And for the first time in a long while, Alex felt hope. The next few days felt strange, but in the best possible way. Alex had never imagined his life would take such a turn. Every day felt like an adventure, and it was all thanks to Lyra. She wasn't what he had expected, not at all. She was far more than just an alien companion. She was a companion in every sense of the word. Her presence brought something new into Alex's life. She was curious about everything, always asking him questions about Earth and its many wonders. She was fascinated by the simple things Alex often took for granted, like a cup of coffee or the sound of birds outside the window. Lyra would often sit on the couch, gazing out of the window, looking at the world with wonder. "On my planet, we never had such things," she told him one afternoon. "There are no cities, no buildings. We lived in harmony with the land, under the open sky. To see all of this, it's overwhelming, but in a good way." Alex smiled. "I guess we take a lot of it for granted." He'd never thought about it that way. He always assumed everyone lived with the same hustle and bustle, the same crowded streets and endless noise. What was it like? Lyra asked, turning to face him. "To grow up here in this world of yours," Alex thought for a moment. It wasn't something he often talked about, but with Lyra, it felt easy to open up. "I guess, ... It was fine," he said, unsure how to explain it. "I grew up like most people, with a family, school, and friends. But I've always felt like something was missing. I was never very close to anyone, even though I was surrounded by people. It always felt like there was something bigger out there that I was supposed to be a part of." Lyra looked at him, her large green eyes full of understanding. "I think I understand," she said softly. "On my planet, we had everything we needed, but I always felt there was something more, ... something beyond our world, beyond the peaceful life we had. That's why I joined the program." Alex blinked, surprised. "Wait, you joined the program?" "I thought you were sent here." She nodded. "I was. But I knew what this program offered. And I wanted to experience life beyond my own world, beyond the limitations of my species. Wanted to understand what it's like to live as you do." Alex was stunned. He had assumed that Lyra had been chosen for him, that she was just here to fulfill a role. But now he realized that she had chosen this life for herself, just as much as he had chosen to invite her into his. "Do you regret it?" Alex asked, his voice soft. Lyra shook her head. "No, not at all. I've never felt more alive than I do now. This place, this world, it's exciting. Every day brings something new, and I'm grateful for it." There was a long pause, and Alex could see the sincerity in her eyes. He couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for her. She had left her entire world behind, stepping into the unknown, just like he had. But while Alex had expected to find just a companion, Lyra had found a sense of purpose. The days continued to pass, and their bond grew stronger. They spent hours talking about everything, their cultures, their histories, and their hopes for the future. Lyra had a fascinating way of looking at things, always trying to find meaning in the small details of life. She would often point out things that Alex had never noticed before, the way the sunlight filtered through the trees, the way the wind smelled after it rained, or the way people's faces lit up when they talked about things they loved. One evening, after a long day of sharing stories, Alex found himself looking at Lyra with a new sense of admiration. She had opened up a world to him that he never knew existed. She wasn't just a companion. She was someone who made him see the world with fresh eyes. Someone who made him appreciate the beauty in the everyday moments. Lyra, Alex began, his voice hesitant. I never thought this would be how things turned out. Thought I was just getting a companion, someone to pass the time with. But I feel, I don't know, like I'm really seeing things now. You've shown me so much. Lyra smiled, a soft, understanding smile. That's what I hoped for. I didn't want to just be someone you looked after or cared for. I wanted to be someone you could learn from, just as much as I learned from you. Alex was quiet for a moment. Taking in her words, he realized then that their relationship wasn't just about companionship. It was about growth. They were both learning from each other, opening up new parts of themselves that they had never explored before. I've always felt like I was missing something, Alex said, his voice soft but sincere. But now I think I understand what. That is, it wasn't about finding someone to be with. It was about finding someone who could make me see the world differently. Someone who could challenge me, show me new perspectives. Lyra's eyes sparkled with a quiet joy. That's exactly what I wanted. To give you something new, something beyond what you already know. Alex smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. I'm glad you came into my life, Lyra. She looked at him, and for a moment there was a quiet understanding between them. It wasn't just about the companionship anymore. It was about the connection they had built, the bond that had grown between them. Lyra was more than just a companion. She was someone who had changed Alex's life in ways he never expected. And in return, he had offered her a world she never imagined. Together, they had created something special. As the days passed, Alex and Lyra settled into a routine that felt comfortable and natural. What started as an unusual arrangement had turned into something deeper, something neither of them had expected. They spent their mornings drinking coffee and talking about the differences between their worlds. Lyra would ask questions about Earth, its history, and its people. And Alex would do his best to explain things from a human perspective. One morning, as the sun began to rise, casting a soft golden glow over the city, Alex sat at the kitchen table staring at his coffee cup. Lyra was sitting across from him, her eyes gazing out the window, watching the birds fly by. The peaceful silence between them felt like an unspoken bond, one that neither had to voice. Lyra broke the silence with a soft smile. I've been thinking about something, she said quietly. Alex looked up at her, intrigued. What's that? You've told me about your life here on Earth, but you've never told me about your family. What were they like? She asked, her voice gentle. Alex hesitated. Family was a touchy subject for him. He didn't often talk about his parents or his upbringing, and the idea of opening up about it felt uncomfortable. But there was something in Lyra's eyes that made him feel safe, like she wasn't asking out of curiosity alone, but out of genuine care. They were good people, Alex began slowly. But not perfect. My dad worked a lot. He was always busy, always gone. And my mom, she tried, but I don't know. It was hard. We never really connected. He paused, thinking about the years of awkward dinners and empty conversations. I guess I never really felt like I had a family. Not in the way I wanted, anyway. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. That sounds difficult. I understand. I come from a place where family is everything. We're raised to believe that. Everyone is connected, that we share a bond with those closest to us. But not every family is the same, is it? Alex shook his head. No, not really. They sat in silence for a moment, and Alex could feel the weight of the conversation. It was strange, talking about things he had buried for so long. Lyra, it felt different. It felt like he wasn't just sharing a story, he was sharing a part of himself. Part he had kept hidden away. Do you miss them? Lyra asked, breaking the silence again. Sometimes, Alex said quietly, but I don't think I miss them the way I should. I miss the idea of having a family, but I've come to realize that I didn't really have one, at least not the way I imagined it. Lyra's gaze softened. Perhaps family doesn't have to be tied to blood. Perhaps it's about the people who are there for you when you need them the most. Alex looked at her, surprised by the depth of her words. It was something he had never considered. Maybe family wasn't just about who you were born to. Maybe it was about who you chose to be with. Maybe you're right, Alex said slowly. Maybe it's about who stands by you. Their conversation shifted, and over time, Alex found himself opening up more and more. Lyra became someone he could talk to about anything, someone who never judged, never pushed him to be something he wasn't. In return, Alex listened to Lyra's stories of her planet, of her people. She told him about the way they lived, how they nurtured the land and each other. There was a peacefulness to her stories, a calm that seemed to seep into Alex's own life. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Alex looked at Lyra with a sense of admiration. I never realized how much I've been missing until you came into my life. It's like I've been looking for something, but I didn't know what it was. Lyra smiled, her eyes soft. Perhaps you were looking for a connection, something real, and now you've found it. Alex nodded, feeling the weight of her words. It was true. He had spent so many years feeling disconnected, unsure of what he was searching for. But with Lyra, everything felt different. She had shown him that the connection he craved wasn't just about the people around him, but about the understanding and companionship that came from sharing experiences, from truly seeing each other. As the days turned into weeks, Alex and Lyra continued to grow closer. They learned from each other in ways neither had anticipated. Lyra helped Alex see the world through new eyes, and Alex helped Lyra understand the complexities of Earth's chaotic world. They weren't just sharing stories anymore. They were sharing their lives, and in doing so, they were slowly building a bond that was unlike anything Alex had ever known. One night, as they stood together on the balcony, watching the stars twinkle in the sky, Lyra turned to Alex. Have you ever wondered what's out there beyond Earth, beyond your planet? She asked, her voice filled with wonder. Alex looked up at the stars, his heart swelling with a sense of awe. All the time, he admitted. I guess I've always wondered what else is out there, what other worlds exist. It's hard not to when I have someone like you right in front of me. Lyra's smile grew, and for a moment, Alex could see the longing in her eyes. There is so much more to discover, Alex, and I hope that one day we'll discover it together. Was a simple statement, but it carried a weight that Alex felt deep within him. Maybe, just maybe, they were both part of something bigger than they realized. Something that went beyond the boundaries of Earth, beyond the limits of their individual lives. With Lyra by his side, Alex felt like he had found what he had been searching for all along. Not just companionship, but a true connection that spanned. The universe life seemed to settle into a rhythm that felt almost perfect. Alex and Lyra continued to grow closer, sharing laughs, quiet moments, and new experiences. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever was, but it was real, and that was enough. Alex had started to feel that maybe, just maybe, this was what he had been. Waiting for all his life, he wasn't alone anymore. He had someone to talk to. Someone who understood him in ways no one else had. But just as things began to feel comfortable, something unexpected happened that threatened to change everything. One afternoon, as Alex was returning home from work, he found a letter waiting for him on his doorstep. The envelope was official-looking, with a government seal stamped on the front. His heart sank as he wondered what it could be. He had no reason to suspect trouble, but there was a knot in his stomach as he opened the letter. The letter was from a government agency and organization that oversaw the Human-Alien Companion Program. As Alex read through it, his stomach churned. The letter informed him that Lyra's presence on Earth was now being questioned. Apparently some higher authorities had learned about their arrangement, and there were concerns over whether such relationships were lawful. There was talk of a full investigation, and worst of all, the possibility that Lyra might be taken from him. Alex couldn't believe what he was reading. How could something so simple, so peaceful, turn into something complicated and dangerous? He had thought that the government would be happy with the arrangement after all. The program was supposed to be about fostering interspecies relationships, but now it seemed like they were viewing it with suspicion. The last line of the letter sent a chill down his spine. This investigation will be conducted with urgency. Till then, your companion is considered under review. Alex was left standing in the doorway, the letter crumpled in his hand. Panic began to creep into his mind. What if they took Lyra away? What if they told her she couldn't stay here anymore? He thought about how much she had become a part of his life. The idea of losing her now was unbearable. When Lyra came home, later that evening, Alex didn't know how to tell her. He wasn't sure if she even knew about the government's interference. But when she walked through the door, her bright, warm smile faded as she saw the worried look on his face. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Alex hesitated. "I got a letter today," he said quietly. He handed it to her. "It's from the government." Lyra took the letter from him and read it carefully. Her expression grew serious as she reached the end of the letter. "So, they're questioning me?" she asked, her voice calm but tinged with sadness. Alex nodded. "It looks like it. They want to investigate our arrangement, and they might take you away." "I don't know what to do, Lyra. I don't want to lose you." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke softly. "Alex, I don't want to be a problem for you. I came here because I wanted to learn, to experience your world, but if staying here causes trouble, I'll go. I don't want to make things difficult for you." "No, Lyra." "You don't understand," Alex said quickly, shaking his head. "This isn't your fault. They shouldn't be doing this. You're not a problem. You're everything to me." His voice caught in his throat as he realized how much he meant those words. He had grown so used to Lyra's presence that the thought of her leaving felt like a punch to the chest. "I'm not going to let them take you away. We'll fight this." "I don't care what it takes." Lyra reached out and took his hand in hers. "Alex, I'm grateful for everything you've done for me. But if it comes to that, if they tell me I have to leave, I will go. I don't want you to lose everything because of me." Alex felt a sharp pain in his heart. "You're not just some alien to me, Lyra. You're my companion, my friend. More than that, you're someone I care about deeply. I won't let them tear us apart." For the rest of the evening, Alex and Lyra talked about what to do. They discussed the possibility of the government taking her away and the uncertainty of the investigation. The fear of what might happen hung heavy in the air, but neither of them was willing to give up without a fight. The next few days were filled with tension. Alex spent hours researching the laws around human-alien relations, hoping to find something that would help them. He contacted legal experts and tried to figure out a way to appeal the investigation. All the while, Lyra remained calm, offering words of comfort and support when Alex grew frustrated. She had always been the one to keep her emotions in check, even when things seemed impossible. But despite all their efforts, the situation only seemed to escalate. The government's investigation team arrived, conducting interviews and questioning both Alex and Lyra. It felt like an invasion of their privacy. Like everything they had built together was being treated as nothing more than a contract to be examined. The worst part came when Lyra was asked to leave the apartment for a few hours, so that the government could examine her more thoroughly. Alex watched helplessly as she left, her steps slow and hesitant. She looked back at him one last time, and in that moment, Alex knew just how much he was willing to fight for her. He wasn't going to let them take her away. He had to believe that their connection, their bond, was stronger than any law or investigation. They had something real, something the world couldn't take from them. The investigation had taken its toll on Alex. He couldn't focus at work. Every time his phone buzzed, his heart raced, fearing it was more bad news. Lyra was quiet too, her usual calm replaced by a distant look. The weight of the unknown hung over them, like a cloud that refused to lift. But despite the stress, one thing became clear to Alex. He wasn't going to let the government take Lyra from him without a fight. He wasn't going to lose the one person who had changed his life for the better. The bond they shared was real, and he couldn't allow it to be broken by laws that didn't understand what they had. One night, as they sat together on the couch, Alex took a deep breath, his mind made up. "Lyra, I don't want to just sit here and wait for them to decide what happens to us. I'm going to do something about this. I've been reading about the laws and talking to some lawyers, and I I think there's a way we can fight this. We don't have to let them tear us apart. Lyra turned to him, her expression soft but serious. I don't want to cause you trouble, Alex. If they say we can't be together, then I'll leave. I've already made peace with that. No, Alex said firmly, shaking his head. I can't let you go, not after everything we've shared. You've become such an important part of my life, Lyra. I'm not just fighting for us. I'm fighting for you, for what you mean to me. Her eyes softened, and for a moment, Alex could see the conflict in them. But what if it's not enough? What if the laws won't change? Alex looked at her with determination. Then we'll change them. We'll make them see that we're not just some legal case or some random match between a human and an alien. We have something real, Lyra. We have a bond that can't be ignored. Lyra didn't answer right away. She just looked at him, her expression thoughtful. Finally, she spoke. I never thought I would find someone like you, Alex. I came here to learn, to understand your world, but I never expected this. This connection. I never thought I would find someone who truly saw me, not just as an alien, but as a person. Alex's heart swelled at her words. I see you, Lyra. I see you. For who you are, and I don't want to lose that. They spent the next few days planning. Alex reached out to lawyers who specialized in intergalactic law, explaining their situation and the emotional toll the investigation was having on both of them. The lawyers were cautious but hopeful. They explained that there had been similar cases in the past where human-alien companions had fought for their rights, but they had been rare and challenging. Still, there was a chance, however small, that they could make a difference. It wasn't easy. The legal process was slow, and every day that passed felt like an eternity. But during this time, Alex saw a change in Lyra. She was no longer the quiet, passive companion she had been when they first met. She was becoming more outspoken, more confident. As she realized that this fight wasn't just about her, it was about both of them. One evening, as they sat at the kitchen table, Lyra looked at Alex with a new sense of resolve. You're right, she said quietly. We have something worth fighting for. I'm not going to just sit back and let them take me away from you. I want to fight for this too. I want to fight for us. Alex smiled at her, his heart lifting. For the first time since the investigation began, he felt like they were on the same side, like they were truly in this together. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, paperwork, and phone calls. They worked tirelessly to gather evidence of their relationship, texts, photos, recorded conversations, all to prove that what they had was genuine. Alex even went so far as to document their shared experiences, writing down the moments that meant the most to him. The first time Lyra smiled at him, the way they laughed together over a simple meal, the quiet mornings spent drinking coffee. In silence, it was all part of their story, and Alex was determined to make sure it was heard. But the fight was far from over. The government had its own agenda, and the investigation wasn't going to be resolved easily. There were meetings with officials who didn't understand their relationship, who saw Lyra as just another alien in a long list of cases. They didn't see her as Alex did. They didn't see the person he had come to care for deeply. One day, as they walked out of a meeting with one of the government officials, Alex could feel the weight of the world pressing down on him. The official had been cold and dismissive, offering no real hope for their case. Lyra walked beside him, her head held high, but Alex could see the strain in her eyes. Don't worry, he said, trying to comfort her. We're doing everything we can. We won't stop fighting. Lyra turned to him, her eyes filled with determination. I'm not worried, Alex. We've come this far, and we'll keep going, together. And in that moment, Alex realized that she was right. This wasn't just about the government or the investigation. This was about them, about the life they had built, the connection they had formed. It was something worth fighting for, something that no law, no government could take away. As the days passed, Alex and Lyra's bond grew stronger. They weren't just fighting for their right to be together anymore. They were fighting for the right to live the life they had chosen in their terms. In a world that was starting to see them for who they truly were, the days were beginning to blur together. Each one felt like a new battle, a new challenge in their ongoing fight against the system that seemed determined to pull them apart. Alex and Lyra spent more and more time meeting with lawyers, filing paperwork, and answering questions from officials. The investigation had stretched on longer than either of them had anticipated. It felt like the weight of the world was slowly crushing them. But despite the challenges, Alex found himself more determined than ever to keep fighting for their right to be together. He had no intention of letting the government dictate who he could love or spend his life with. Lyra had become so much more than just a companion. She had become his partner, his equal, and he wasn't going to let anyone take her away from him. One afternoon, as they sat in their apartment, Alex looked at Lyra, who had been unusually quiet for the past few days. She was staring out the window, her eyes lost in thought. The calm demeanor she had once shown was now replaced with a sense of frustration and sadness. He could see the toll the investigation was taking on her. "Lyra," Alex said gently, breaking the silence. "You haven't been yourself lately. What's going on?" Lyra turned to him, her expression soft but weary. "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Alex. I see how hard you're working, but it feels like we're fighting a battle we can't win. The government doesn't understand what we have. They don't see us for what we are." Alex stood up and walked over to her, placing his hand on her shoulder. "Lyra, we're not giving up. I know it's hard. I know it feels like we're not getting anywhere, but we can't let them win. We have to keep pushing. You and I, we have something real. And that means something. It's worth fighting for." Lyra looked at him, her eyes filled with emotion. "I want to believe that, Alex. But what if we can't change their minds? What if they don't care about what we have? They keep pushing us into corners, making us feel like we're in the wrong." Alex's heart sank, but he refused to let doubt take hold. "I know it's tough. But the world is changing, Lyra. People are starting to see things differently. The fact that they're investigating us means they're paying attention. And the more attention we get, the more people will start to realize that we're not the problem. They are." Lyra remained silent for a long time, her gaze fixed on the floor. Alex knew she was struggling. She had been through so much already, and he could see the weight of it all on her shoulders. But he also knew that this was just one more test for both of them. They had already overcome so much together, and he wasn't about to let them lose. Now, as the days passed, the investigation took an unexpected turn. The government officials who had been handling their case suddenly changed their approach. Instead of treating them as a simple case to be processed, they began to show more interest in their relationship. The media got wind of the investigation, and soon, Alex and Lyra's story was being shared across the planet. People from all over the world started to rally behind them, showing support for their right to be together. It was a turning point. The media coverage brought attention to the flaws in the system, and soon, protests began to spread across Earth. People from different cultures and backgrounds came together. United in the belief that love should not be dictated by laws or regulations, Alex and Lyra became symbols of hope for many, a shining example of what could be achieved when two people, regardless of their backgrounds, came together to fight for what was right. At first, Alex couldn't believe what was happening. They had gone from being a small, unnoticed couple in the eyes of the government to being the center of a global movement. But as the days passed and the protests grew larger, he realized that this fight was bigger than just the two of them. It was about everyone who had ever been told that they didn't belong, that their love wasn't valid. It was about standing up for what was right, no matter the odds. One evening, after a particularly emotional rally, Alex and Lyra sat on the balcony of their apartment, looking out at the lights of the city below. It was a peaceful moment, the kind they had shared many times before. This time it felt different. It felt like they had crossed a line, like they had finally reached the point where they couldn't be ignored any longer. "Alex," Lyra said softly, breaking the silence. "Do you think we'll win?" Alex smiled, his eyes filled with determination. "We already have. We've made people see us. We've made them see what we have, and that's the first step. No matter what happens, we've already changed the world." Lyra leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I didn't think this would be how things turned out, but I'm glad I'm with you. No matter what happens, I don't regret a thing." Alex kissed the top of her head, his heart swelling with love for her. "I don't regret anything either, Lyra. We're in this together. and no matter what, we'll always be together. The following week, the government made its final decision. After months of investigation, countless protests, and the overwhelming support of the public, they had no choice but to acknowledge that Alex and Lyra's relationship was valid. They couldn't deny the bond they shared. The decision was a victory, not just for Alex and Lyra, but for anyone who had ever been told that their love wasn't enough. As the news spread, Alex and Lyra embraced the future together, knowing that they had won not just their fight, but the fight for everyone who believed in love. They had shown the world that nothing, no law, no system could break the bond they shared, and for the first time in a long while, Alex felt truly free. The decision had come. The news spread quickly like wildfire. Alex sat in his apartment, staring at the screen as the announcement played. It was official. The government had ruled in their favor. Alex and Lyra could stay together. The battle they had fought for so long had finally ended, and they had won. For a moment, Alex felt a rush of relief. It was as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his chest. He looked over at Lyra, who stood by the window, gazing out at the city. Her eyes were soft, but there was something in them, something deeper, something more peaceful. "It's over," Alex said, his voice filled with wonder. Lyra turned to him, her expression calm, but her eyes sparkled with the same relief. Alex felt, yes, it's finally over. She walked over to him, and for a long moment, they simply stood there, side by side, taking it all in. They had faced so many obstacles, so many challenges, and yet here they were, together, and nothing could take that away, I didn't think. "This would happen," Lyra said quietly. "When I first came here, I had no idea what I was getting into. But now, I feel like I found something I never expected." Alex smiled, his heart swelling with love for her. "I never expected any of this either, but I'm so glad it happened. I'm glad I found you." Lyra reached out and gently took his hand in hers. "And I'm glad I found you. You've shown me so much about this world, about love, about connection. I never thought it would be like this." For a long time, they just stood there, holding hands, letting the moment wash over them. Everything. They had been through every moment of doubt, every fight, and it all led to this. They were free. They were together. The following weeks passed in a blur of new beginnings. The media buzzed with stories about Alex and Lyra, about their victory, about the world's changing views on human-alien relationships. It felt strange at first to have the world's eyes on them. But as the days went by, Alex and Lyra began to see the impact of their fight. They had become symbols of hope for others, proof that love could overcome any barrier. One evening, after a long day of interviews and public appearances, Alex and Lyra found themselves sitting on the balcony watching the stars. The city below was alive with lights, but up here on their small balcony it was quiet, peaceful. Lyra sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I never imagined this life. When I came here, I thought I was just going to learn about your world. But I've learned so much more than I could have ever imagined." Alex smiled, reaching over to take her hand. "I think we've both learned a lot, not just about each other, but about ourselves. We've come so far, Lyra. We've been through so much together, and now we have a chance to start fresh." Lyra looked up at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "I'm not just talking about Earth. I'm talking about ... everything, the universe, the way it works, how everything is connected. There's so much out there that I never knew." Alex followed her gaze, his eyes wandering to the sky. "You're right, there's so much more, and we've only just begun to discover it." Both fell silent, lost in their own thoughts. There was so much they still didn't know, so much left to explore. But for the first time, Alex didn't feel afraid of the unknown. He had Lyra by his side, and together they could face anything. Weeks turned into months, and life began to settle into a new normal. The world had changed, not just for Alex and Lyra, but for everyone. Their victory had sparked a shift in how people saw interspecies relationships. What was once considered unusual or impossible was now something people were beginning to accept, and that was just the beginning. Alex and Lyra knew that their fight was far from over, but they also knew that the world was ready for change. ready to embrace the idea that love could exist across boundaries, across worlds. They moved to a new apartment in a quieter part of the city. It wasn't as big as the old one, but it was perfect for them. It was a space where they could finally relax, without the constant pressure of the investigation looming over them. They spent their days exploring the city, meeting new people, and talking about their future. Sometimes, they would talk about traveling to Lyra's homeworld, about seeing the peaceful landscapes she had described. But no matter where they went, no matter what they did, Alex knew that as long as they were together, everything would be all right. One afternoon, as they walked through the park, Alex looked at Lyra with a smile. "You know, I've never really been one for adventure. But with you, I feel like I can do anything. I feel like there's nothing we can't face." Lyra smiled back, her eyes full of warmth. "That's how I feel too. With you, I know that. We can face whatever comes our way, because we've already faced so much, and we've come out stronger." As they walked, hand in hand, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of peace he had never known before. The world around them was full of possibilities. There was still so much to see, so much to learn. But now, it didn't matter how uncertain the future was. As long as he had Lyra by his side, he knew that together they could face anything, and that was the greatest adventure of all.